She offered her body for a ride, but the cowboy lifted her onto the horse. "Now you're safe." The sun was beginning to dip low in the sky, casting long golden shadows across the dusty path. Emily tightened her scarf against the wind, which carried with it the faint smell of pine and earth. She had been walking for hours through the rugged countryside, the uneven trail making her boots sore and her legs tired. The landscape stretched endlessly, rolling hills giving way to distant forests and small patches of wildflowers that danced gently in the breeze. She had set out early that morning, hoping to reach the small town before nightfall, but now the late afternoon sky warned her she was behind schedule. Emily had traveled alone for much of her life, and while she liked her independence, moments like this made her realize the weight of being alone. Her backpack felt heavier with every step, loaded with supplies she thought she might need on the journey, yet still not enough to make her comfortable. She kept checking the trail ahead, her eyes scanning for any sign of a road or a landmark she could recognize. But all she could see were rocks, trees, and the gentle rise and fall of the hills. The path was quiet, too quiet, except for the occasional rustle of leaves or a bird taking flight from a nearby tree. A part of her wondered if she had taken a wrong turn somewhere, but there was no time to dwell on mistakes. She needed to keep moving. Suddenly, in the distance, Emily noticed a figure. At first, she thought it might be another traveler like herself, but as she drew closer, she saw him clearly. A cowboy, standing beside a line of horses grazing near a river. His hat shaded his face, but she could tell he was watching the trail. There was something reassuring in his stance, calm and steady, as if he belonged there and knew the land in a way she could only dream of understanding. She hesitated for a moment, unsure whether approaching a stranger was wise. Yet, exhaustion and worry made her move forward. She waved lightly, hoping to catch his attention without startling him. The cowboy noticed her immediately and tipped his hat in greeting. "Afternoon," he called out, his voice carrying easily across the clearing. "You look like you could use some help." Emily swallowed hard, unsure what to say. She had never expected kindness from a stranger in such a remote place, yet here it was, offered so freely. She nodded, then gestured toward her backpack and the small horse she had been leading along the path. Her eyes pleaded for understanding. She hoped he would see her worry and realize she needed a safe ride or at least guidance. The cowboy approached with careful steps, speaking softly to the horses to keep them calm. Emily noticed how natural he seemed with the animals, how easily they responded to his voice. It made her feel a little less nervous. She explained her situation, telling him about the town she needed to reach and the rough path that had slowed her down. He listened patiently, nodding and asking questions about the trail, the river, and the hills ahead. Every word he spoke seemed measured, thoughtful, as if he had seen travelers in need many times before and knew exactly how to help without making them feel helpless. Emily felt a mixture of relief and anxiety. She wanted to trust him, but she also knew she had to be careful. Still, there was a sense of calm about him that made her believe he genuinely wanted to help. "I can get you across the tricky part of the river," he said finally, pointing to the shallow stream where the water glittered in the sunlight. "The horses are used to crossing, and I'll make sure you're safe." Emily's heart lifted. She had tried to figure out a way to cross on her own, but the path looked too dangerous, and she had almost given up hope of making it safely. As they prepared to move toward the river, Emily realized how tired she was. Her legs ached, her back was sore from carrying the backpack, and she felt a little dizzy from the heat and exertion. She wondered how she had managed to walk so far alone. Yet in that moment, she also felt a flicker of excitement. Traveling alone had its challenges, yes, but it also brought moments like this, unexpected encounters that reminded her the world was not entirely harsh or indifferent. There were people who looked out for others, people who offered help without asking for anything in return. The cowboy approached her horse, speaking softly to it before offering his hand to Emily. "Let's get you on safely," he said with a reassuring smile. She hesitated for a moment, gripping the saddle nervously, then allowed him to help lift her onto the horse. The animal shifted slightly under her weight, but the cowboy's presence made her feel steadier, calmer. "There," he said, adjusting the stirrups so her feet rested comfortably. "You're safe now." Emily let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. It was a simple phrase, but it carried a weight of trust and security that she had been longing for. The journey along the riverbank began slowly. The horse's hooves made gentle clopping sounds against the dirt path, and the water sparkled alongside them. Emily looked around, taking in the beauty of the landscape. The hills rolled like waves frozen in time, trees swayed with a gentle rhythm, and the sun painted the sky with warm colors. For a moment, she forgot her exhaustion and the uncertainty that had plagued her earlier. She felt a sense of peace, knowing she was no longer alone, and that someone capable and kind was guiding her through the unknown. As they moved forward, Emily began to notice details she had overlooked during her long walk. The chirping of crickets hidden in the grass, the way sunlight caught the edges of the river, the distant call of a hawk circling above. She realized that while the journey had been tiring, it had also been filled with small wonders that she would have missed had she rushed. Traveling alone had taught her awareness, but traveling with someone who understood the land brought a new layer of safety and appreciation. She felt grateful, though quietly, knowing this moment would stay with her for a long time. The cowboy continued to speak to her gently, asking about her journey and sharing small stories of the land, of the trails he had ridden since he was a boy. Emily listened with interest, realizing how different his life was from hers. He spoke of early mornings, the rhythm of caring for horses, and the quiet satisfaction of a day well spent outdoors. His words were simple but carried experience and wisdom. Emily felt a growing respect for him, and also a sense of camaraderie, as though they had shared a small adventure together, even in the brief time since she had found him. By the time they reached a safer section of the trail, Emily's worries had begun to fade. She felt steadier on the horse, more in tune with the rhythm of its steps. The cowboy guided her carefully, keeping her aware of uneven ground and alerting her to any sudden changes. She marveled at his patience, realizing that moments like this required not just skill but a genuine care for another person's well-being. It wasn't just about helping her get across the river. It was about making sure she felt secure, supported, and confident. Finally, they stopped near a flat clearing where Emily could dismount safely. Her legs felt wobbly, but she was smiling, a sense of accomplishment mixed with relief washing over her. She thanked the cowboy, feeling the sincerity of his concern and kindness. He tipped his hat again, a quiet acknowledgement of the shared journey. Emily watched as he tended to the horses, preparing to continue his own work, and felt a quiet admiration for the calm competence he carried with him. As she walked the remaining distance toward the town, Emily reflected on the encounter. She realized that fear and uncertainty could sometimes lead to moments of unexpected support, and that trust, when given wisely, could bring relief and safety. The countryside that had seemed intimidating earlier now felt a little friendlier, a little less daunting. And while she still had a journey ahead, she knew she was stronger than she had thought, and that help could arrive when least expected. Emily felt a mixture of relief and nervous anticipation as she mounted the horse under the cowboy's guidance. The river glistened in the afternoon sun, sparkling like a ribbon of liquid silver winding through the countryside. The water seemed calm from a distance, but Emily had seen enough rivers in her travels to know appearances could be deceiving. Her horse shifted its weight, sniffing the ground near the riverbank, and Emily felt a jolt of anxiety. Her hands gripped the reins tightly, but she realized her grip was only making her feel more unsteady. The cowboy noticed her tension immediately. "Take it slow," he said, his voice calm and steady. "Horses can sense fear. Relax your body and the horse will follow your lead." Emily took a deep breath, trying to calm her racing heart. She reminded herself that she had faced challenges before, that she had learned to trust her instincts. But this was different. The path ahead was narrow, and the riverbank was slippery with mud and loose stones. She had never crossed a river on horseback before, and the thought made her stomach churn. The horse took a hesitant step forward, its hooves sinking slightly into the soft ground. Emily's legs shook as she tried to maintain her balance. The water lapped gently at the edges, but she could see deeper currents farther out moving swiftly around rocks. Her mind raced with questions. What if the horse slipped? What if she fell into the water? She felt a surge of panic and instinctively pulled back slightly on the reins. The horse whinnied softly, startled by her sudden movement, and Emily's heart leapt into her throat. The cowboy stepped closer, placing a reassuring hand on the horse's neck. "It's okay," he said. "Just let me guide you. Trust the horse and trust me." His presence was grounding. Emily realized that panic would get her nowhere. She took another deep breath, exhaling slowly, and tried to focus on the rhythm of the horse's steps rather than the danger ahead. The cowboy reached forward, adjusting the stirrup and giving her a gentle nod. "Lean slightly forward, stay calm, and you'll be fine," he instructed. Emily did as he said, feeling the horse respond to the subtle shift in her weight. Step by step, they moved closer to the river's edge. Emily could see the water swirling gently around rocks, creating small ripples that glinted in the sunlight. She felt a strange mixture of awe and fear. Nature was beautiful, but it was also unpredictable, and she was reminded of how small and vulnerable she truly was. Yet, despite the anxiety, she felt a sense of determination. She had traveled far to reach this point, and she was not going to let fear stop her. The cowboy's calm presence made her feel supported, as if she had an anchor in the midst of uncertainty. Suddenly, the horse slipped on a patch of wet stones, losing its footing for a brief moment. Emily's heart jumped into her throat. She clutched the reins tightly, trying to steady herself, but the animal wobbled dangerously. She could feel herself leaning to one side, and for a terrifying moment she thought she might fall. Her mind raced with images of being swept into the river, the current carrying her away. She froze, unsure of what to do next. The cowboy reacted immediately. In a swift motion, he stepped forward and lifted her with surprising strength, guiding her back into a safer position on the horse. "There," he said, adjusting her posture carefully. "Now you're safe. Just stay with me, and we'll get across together." Emily felt a wave of relief and gratitude. She had been scared, but the cowboy's timely intervention reminded her that sometimes help arrives when it is needed most. His actions were calm and precise, and she realized she could trust his guidance completely. With renewed courage, Emily followed the cowboy's instructions. She relaxed her body, allowed the horse to move at its own pace, and focused on keeping her balance. The horse seemed to sense her steadiness and began to walk more confidently toward the river. Emily's fear gradually eased, replaced by a sense of exhilaration. She had faced danger and survived, and the experience was strangely empowering. The river, once intimidating, now seemed like a challenge she could overcome with patience and focus. As they approached the deeper part of the river, Emily noticed how the sunlight danced on the water, creating patterns that shimmered like tiny diamonds. The sound of flowing water filled her ears, soothing in a way she hadn't expected. She realized that even in moments of fear, there could be beauty and wonder. The cowboy guided the horse carefully into the shallower parts first, letting it test the footing before moving further. Step by step, they navigated the river, Emily holding her breath at times but trusting the guidance she was given. Halfway across, a small wave caused the horse to stumble slightly again. Emily felt a surge of panic, but the cowboy was immediately at her side, steadying the horse and speaking calmly. "Easy now. We're almost through," he said. His words were simple but effective, giving her confidence in the midst of fear. Emily realized that facing danger with someone experienced was entirely different from facing it alone. His calm presence turned her fear into focus, and she could feel herself gaining strength and courage with every step. As they reached the far side of the river, Emily dismounted carefully, her legs trembling from the adrenaline and exertion. She thanked the cowboy again, her voice filled with genuine gratitude. The fear she had felt moments ago now seemed distant, replaced by a sense of accomplishment and relief. She looked back at the river, realizing that she had confronted something intimidating and emerged safely, thanks to guidance, patience, and trust. The cowboy smiled at her, tipping his hat once more. "See, nothing to worry about," he said. "Just takes a little courage and a lot of trust." Emily nodded, feeling the truth in his words. She had learned an important lesson. Sometimes danger is not about the threat itself, but about how one responds to it. And sometimes the help of someone skilled and kind can make all the difference. They continued along the path for a while, the river now behind them, and Emily felt a new sense of confidence. She realized that, while the journey was far from over, she could handle challenges that came her way. The landscape stretched out before her, filled with possibilities and small wonders she might have overlooked before. She felt grateful for the encounter with the cowboy, who had not only helped her cross a dangerous river, but had also taught her the value of patience, trust, and composure under pressure. As the sun began to lower toward the horizon, Emily felt a sense of calm. The shadows of the trees grew long, and the air cooled slightly, carrying the scent of damp earth and wild flowers. She walked beside her horse now, letting it graze as they moved slowly along the trail. The cowboy remained nearby, alert but unobtrusive, a reassuring presence that made her feel safe even in the vast, open countryside. She thought about how fear can make a person feel small, but how courage and guidance can make them feel capable, strong, and alive. Emily realized that this moment, this crossing of the river, was more than just a physical challenge. It was a test of patience, trust, and resilience. She had been scared, yes, but she had also learned that fear can be managed, and that help can arrive when one is willing to accept it. The cowboy had shown her that sometimes guidance and experience are more valuable than trying to face every challenge alone. As they continued their journey, Emily felt a quiet gratitude for the experience. She had been scared, uncertain, and vulnerable, but she had also discovered a sense of courage and trust she hadn't known she possessed. She looked ahead at the trail, knowing there would be more challenges, but feeling ready to face them. The countryside, once intimidating, now seemed alive with possibilities. And as she walked alongside her horse, the cowboy walking calmly beside them, she knew that she was not alone, and that made all the difference. Emily adjusted the strap of her backpack and settled back onto the horse, feeling the rhythm of its steady gait beneath her. The river was now behind them, its sparkling water fading into the distance, but the memory of the crossing lingered in her mind. She could still feel the adrenaline in her veins, the fear and relief mingling in an odd but memorable way. She glanced at the cowboy, who was walking beside them, his boots crunching softly on the trail. There was a calm confidence in his movements, a quiet assurance that made her feel secure despite the vastness of the landscape around them. The trail ahead was narrow, winding through rolling hills dotted with patches of wildflowers and clusters of tall trees. Sunlight filtered through the leaves, creating patterns of light and shadow that danced across the ground. Emily's horse moved carefully, its hooves finding purchase on the uneven path. She tried to match the cowboy's calm demeanor, taking deep breaths and letting the rhythm of the horse guide her. Step by step, she began to feel less like a traveler battling the wilderness alone and more like a companion on a shared journey. As they moved forward, the cowboy began to speak, his voice soft but steady. "This area can be tricky if you're not used to it," he said. Loose rocks, sudden drops, and hidden roots can catch even experienced travelers off guard. Always keep your eyes on the path ahead and trust your horse. Emily nodded, listening intently. She realized how much she had taken for granted when walking alone. The guidance of someone who truly understood the land, someone who could anticipate danger and keep her safe. There was a comfort in knowing that she was not entirely at the mercy of the terrain. The cowboy shared small stories of his life on the ranch, of mornings spent feeding the horses before sunrise, of nights under the stars listening to the distant calls of owls and coyotes. Emily listened with fascination, imagining the quiet rhythm of his days. There was a simplicity to his life that seemed so different from her own, yet also a deep connection to the world around him. She asked questions, and he answered patiently, never rushing, always making sure she felt informed and confident. For the first time in hours, Emily felt a sense of calm curiosity replace the anxiety that had weighed on her. The horse trotted along a gentle incline, the sound of its hooves mingling with the rustling of leaves and the distant chirping of birds. Emily felt the warmth of the sun on her face, the cool breeze brushing against her skin, and she began to notice details she had missed during her long journey. Tiny wildflowers peeked out from the grass, delicate and colorful. A family of rabbits darted across the trail ahead, pausing briefly to watch them before disappearing into the underbrush. The world around her seemed alive, vibrant, and full of small wonders, and for the first time in a long while, she felt fully present in the moment. The cowboy guided the horse along the safest parts of the trail, pointing out areas where the ground was unstable or where low-hanging branches might pose a challenge. "See that rock over there," he said, gesturing to a large stone partially hidden by grass. "Step around it slowly. Your horse will follow you, but you need to lead with confidence." Emily followed his advice carefully, feeling a growing sense of mastery over the situation. She realized that while the journey had been frightening before, each step forward built her confidence and strengthened her connection with the horse beneath her. They paused briefly on a small plateau overlooking a valley below. The view was breathtaking. Rolling hills stretched as far as the eye could see, their green slopes dotted with trees and wildflowers, and the sky above glowed with the warm colors of late afternoon. Emily dismounted, letting the horse graze while she stretched her legs and took in the scenery. The cowboy stood nearby, watching over her with a quiet vigilance that made her feel safe. She realized that this moment of pause was more than just a break. It was a chance to breathe, to appreciate the beauty around her, and to reflect on how far she had come. Emily and the cowboy began to talk more openly now, sharing stories from their lives. She spoke of her travels, the places she had seen, and the challenges she had faced along the way. He listened with genuine interest, occasionally offering insights or small pieces of wisdom drawn from his own experiences. Emily felt a growing respect for him, not just for his skills and knowledge, but for the kindness and patience he had shown. She realized that trust was not given lightly. It was earned through actions, consistency, and care, all of which he had demonstrated from the moment they met. The trail began to descend gradually, leading them into a denser part of the forest. Shafts of sunlight pierced through the canopy, creating a mosaic of light and shadow on the forest floor. Emily noticed the scent of pine and earth, the distant sound of running water, and the occasional rustle of unseen animals. She felt a sense of wonder and awe, realizing how much she had missed by hurrying through life without taking the time to observe the world around her. Riding with the cowboy, she had learned to notice details, to appreciate small moments of beauty, and to stay mindful even in unfamiliar or challenging environments. As they navigated the forest path, Emily encountered her first real obstacle, a fallen branch blocking part of the trail. She froze for a moment, unsure how to proceed. The cowboy stepped forward, gently guiding the horse around the obstruction. "It's all right," he said. Sometimes the path isn't perfect. You adapt and you keep moving forward. Emily followed his lead, feeling a mixture of relief and admiration. Each challenge they faced together strengthened her confidence and reinforced the lesson that obstacles were not meant to stop her, but to teach her resilience and patience. They continued along the winding trail, the forest gradually giving way to open meadows bathed in golden sunlight. Emily felt the horse's movements becoming more comfortable, her own posture more confident, and her mind clearer. The cowboy remained a steady presence at her side, offering guidance without taking over, allowing her to learn and grow through experience. She realized that this journey was not just about reaching a destination. It was about learning to navigate life's challenges with courage, patience, and trust. By the time they reached a gently sloping meadow near the edge of the forest, Emily felt a sense of accomplishment. She had faced her fears, trusted in another person, and discovered a newfound confidence in herself. The meadow was peaceful, filled with the soft hum of insects and the distant calls of birds. The cowboy paused, letting the horse graze while they took a brief rest. Emily looked around, taking in the beauty and tranquility of the scene, and felt a deep sense of gratitude for the journey, for the guidance she had received, and for the quiet strength she had discovered within herself. As the sun began to sink lower in the sky, painting the clouds with shades of pink and orange, Emily mounted the horse again, feeling more secure and confident than before. The cowboy walked beside her, his presence reassuring and steady. Together they moved forward along the trail, their steps in rhythm, their minds focused yet calm. Emily realized that this ride was not just about reaching safety. It was about learning to embrace the journey, to trust in herself and others, and to find beauty and meaning even in moments of challenge and uncertainty. By the time they reached a small clearing near the edge of the next valley, Emily felt a sense of peace settle over her. The journey had been long, challenging, and sometimes frightening, but it had also been filled with moments of wonder, learning, and connection. She looked at the cowboy, who met her gaze with a reassuring nod, and felt a sense of mutual respect and understanding. She knew that this experience would stay with her for a long time, a reminder of courage, trust, and the kindness of those willing to help along the way. As they prepared to continue toward the next part of the trail, Emily felt a renewed sense of energy and purpose. The sun was low on the horizon, the sky painted with brilliant colors, and the landscape stretched out before them, full of possibilities and small wonders. She rode with confidence, her heart lighter and her mind sharper, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The cowboy's presence remained a constant source of reassurance, a reminder that even in the vastness of the world, one could find guidance, safety, and companionship. Emily realized that this ride was more than just a passage through the countryside. It was a journey of growth, trust, and discovery. She had faced fear, learned to trust herself and others, and found beauty and wonder in the world around her. And as the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the meadow, she felt a deep sense of gratitude for the experience and the lessons it had taught her. Emily walked slowly through the meadow, her horse following quietly beside her. The sun had dipped lower now, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, and a soft breeze carried the scent of grass and wildflowers. She felt a quiet peace settle over her, a contrast to the fear and uncertainty she had felt just hours before. The events of the day, the river crossing, the narrow trails, and the cowboy's calm guidance played over in her mind like a vivid story. She realized that every challenge she had faced had taught her something valuable about herself. The cowboy rode beside her, guiding the horse carefully along the uneven path. Emily watched his calm movements, the ease with which he navigated the landscape, and felt a sense of admiration. It wasn't just his skill with horses or knowledge of the land that impressed her. It was the quiet patience and understanding he showed. He didn't rush her, and he didn't take control unnecessarily. Instead, he allowed her to experience the challenges, offering support when she needed it. Emily realized that this was a lesson in itself. Sometimes guidance is most effective when it is gentle, steady, and supportive, rather than forceful or overbearing. As they moved through a small, forested area, Emily found herself reflecting on her own journey. She thought about how often she had faced difficulties alone, relying solely on her instincts and resourcefulness. Those experiences had taught her resilience and independence, but they had also left her feeling isolated at times. Today had been different. Today, she had encountered someone who was willing to help without judgment, someone who had taught her that accepting support was not a sign of weakness. She realized that trust, when placed wisely, could be a source of strength rather than vulnerability. The path led them to a gentle slope overlooking a valley, where the light of the setting sun made the landscape glow. Emily dismounted again, letting the horse graze while she took a moment to breathe and stretch her legs. She looked out at the horizon, marveling at the way the hills rolled and the rivers glimmered like silver threads. For a long moment, she simply stood there, absorbing the beauty and serenity of the scene. The cowboy leaned against a tree nearby, watching her with quiet patience, and Emily felt a sense of comfort in his presence. It was as if the world, for all its challenges, was a place where kindness and guidance could exist alongside uncertainty. Emily began to speak, sharing her thoughts aloud. "I never realized how much fear can control a person," she said softly. "I've faced difficult situations before, but today I learned that fear can make even simple things seem impossible. And yet with the right support it can be overcome." The cowboy nodded, smiling slightly. "Fear is natural," he said. "It's our reaction to the unknown. What matters is how we respond to it. You've faced your fears today, and you've learned that trust and patience can help you navigate even the hardest moments." Emily listened carefully, understanding the truth in his words. They continued along the trail, and Emily began to notice more details in her surroundings. The gentle rustle of leaves, the distant sound of a bird calling, the way sunlight reflected off the surface of a small stream. She realized that part of the challenge of travel and of life was paying attention. Fear and distraction can make a person blind to beauty and opportunity, while calm focus and awareness can reveal the richness of the world around them. Riding with the cowboy had taught her not only courage, but also mindfulness, a way of being present in the moment while navigating challenges. As they moved through a narrow path bordered by tall grasses, Emily encountered a small patch of uneven ground. Her horse hesitated slightly, sensing the instability beneath its hooves. She felt a flicker of the old anxiety rising within her, but this time it was different. She remembered the cowboy's guidance during the river crossing, the calm, measured instructions, the steady presence, the trust in her abilities. She took a deep breath, relaxed her grip on the reins, and guided the horse carefully through the patch. Each step was deliberate, each movement conscious, and soon they were past the obstacle. Emily felt a quiet surge of pride. She had faced uncertainty and danger, yet remained composed and capable. The cowboy smiled at her, a quiet acknowledgement of her success. "See," he said, "you're stronger than you think. Sometimes we just need a little guidance to realize it." Emily nodded, feeling the truth of his words resonate within her. She had always known she was capable, but the experiences of the day had revealed depths of resilience and courage she hadn't fully appreciated. She realized that confidence wasn't just about knowing you could succeed. It was about facing fear, trusting yourself, and learning from each experience. As the evening deepened, the landscape transformed. Shadows stretched long across the trail, and the colors of the sky shifted from gold and pink to deep purple and indigo. Emily and the cowboy moved carefully, aware of the fading light. The air grew cooler, and the sounds of the countryside changed. The chirping of crickets, the distant call of owls, the soft rustle of small animals in the underbrush. Emily felt a sense of wonder at the natural rhythm of the world, realizing that even in moments of challenge and uncertainty, there was beauty and continuity. They paused again near a small clearing, where the moon began to rise, casting a gentle glow over the landscape. Emily dismounted, letting the horse graze while she walked a few steps to stretch her legs. She felt a sense of reflection, thinking about the lessons of the day. Fear could be managed, trust could be built, and courage could be discovered in the most unexpected circumstances. She realized that every challenge she faced, every obstacle she overcame, was an opportunity to learn and grow. The cowboy's presence had been instrumental, but the growth was hers alone, earned through experience, attention, and reflection. Emily began to speak again, this time more thoughtfully. "I think I've learned something important today," she said. "It's not just about crossing rivers or navigating paths. It's about understanding yourself, trusting others, and appreciating the journey, not just the destination." The cowboy nodded in agreement. "Exactly," he said. "Life is full of challenges. Some are small, some are large, but each one teaches us something. The key is to face them with awareness, patience, and courage." Emily felt a deep sense of clarity and calm. She understood that her journey was more than physical. It was also emotional, mental, and spiritual, a path of growth and discovery. As night settled over the countryside, Emily and the cowboy found a safe spot to rest briefly. The horse grazed quietly, and the air was filled with the soft sounds of the nocturnal world. Emily felt a profound sense of gratitude for the guidance she had received, for the strength she had discovered within herself, and for the beauty and wonder of the world around her. She realized that challenges, though difficult, were not to be feared entirely. They were opportunities to learn, to connect, and to grow. Emily reflected on the events of the day, the river crossing, the narrow trails, the moments of fear, and the moments of triumph. Each experience had taught her something valuable: courage, trust, mindfulness, resilience, and gratitude. She realized that her journey was a continuous process of learning, and that the lessons she had gained today would stay with her for a lifetime. She felt a deep sense of accomplishment, not just for reaching this point, but for the growth she had experienced along the way. The cowboy, observing her reflection, offered a few final words before they continued. "Remember this feeling," he said. "The world is full of challenges, but also full of beauty and support. Trust yourself and you'll find a way through. And sometimes help will come when you need it most. Don't be afraid to accept it." Emily nodded, understanding the depth of his words. She had learned that life was not a solitary path. It was a journey of connection, trust, and growth. She felt ready to continue, stronger and wiser than she had been that morning. As they prepared to move forward, Emily took one last look at the moonlit landscape, feeling a deep sense of peace. The day had been filled with fear, challenge, and uncertainty, but it had also been filled with beauty, guidance, and growth. She realized that her journey was not just about reaching a destination. It was about embracing each step along the way, learning from every experience, and finding strength and confidence within herself. The cowboy's presence had been a gift, but the courage and understanding she had gained were entirely her own. With renewed determination, Emily mounted her horse once more, ready to continue along the path. The night was quiet, the stars beginning to twinkle overhead, and the trail stretched out before them, full of possibilities and small wonders. She felt a sense of empowerment, knowing that she had faced fear, trusted in guidance, and discovered the depth of her own resilience. And as the cowboy rode beside her, steady and supportive, she felt certain that whatever challenges lay ahead, she would face them with courage, mindfulness, and gratitude. The first hints of dawn stretched across the horizon, painting the sky with soft shades of pink and orange. Emily awoke to the gentle sounds of the countryside, the faint chirping of birds, the rustle of leaves in the morning breeze, and the soft lowing of her horse as it grazed nearby. She stretched her tired legs and took a deep breath, inhaling the cool, fresh air. The events of the past days, the river crossing, the narrow trails, and the guidance of the cowboy flooded her mind. She realized how much she had grown in such a short time, and a sense of quiet pride filled her chest. The cowboy had already saddled his horse, waiting patiently as Emily prepared to continue the journey. His calm, steady presence was comforting, and she felt a deep sense of gratitude for his guidance. "Ready to continue?" he asked, tipping his hat with a small smile. Emily nodded, gripping the reins a little more confidently than before. She realized that the challenges she had faced were no longer obstacles to fear, but opportunities to apply what she had learned: patience, awareness, trust, and courage. As they moved along the trail, the sun rose higher, illuminating the rolling hills and valleys around them. Emily noticed details she had missed on the first day: the way sunlight glimmered on patches of morning dew, the gentle sway of grasses in the breeze, and the distant hum of bees among wildflowers. She felt a deep connection to the land, as if it were welcoming her, acknowledging her efforts and her perseverance. The cowboy remained beside her, offering gentle guidance when needed, but largely allowing her to take the lead, reinforcing her confidence and independence. Emily thought back to the river, the moment when fear had nearly overwhelmed her, and the cowboy had lifted her onto the horse. She realized that her growth had begun there, in a moment of vulnerability. She had learned to trust, not just the cowboy, but also herself and her ability to navigate challenges. She understood that courage was not the absence of fear, but the ability to act despite it. Each step along the trail reinforced this lesson, and she felt stronger, more aware, and more capable than she had at the beginning of her journey. They came to a narrow path along the edge of a steep hill. Emily's horse hesitated, sensing the uneven ground. For a moment she felt a flicker of the old fear, but then she remembered the lessons she had learned. Stay calm, trust your instincts, and focus on the path ahead. She adjusted her posture, relaxed her grip on the reins, and guided the horse carefully along the trail. Each step was deliberate, measured, and confident. The horse responded smoothly, and Emily felt a surge of accomplishment. The obstacles that had once seemed insurmountable now felt like challenges she could manage with focus and composure. As the trail leveled out, they entered a wide meadow bathed in golden sunlight. Emily could see the town she had been trying to reach in the distance, a small cluster of buildings nestled among gentle hills, smoke curling from chimneys, and the faint sound of life stirring in the streets. Her heart lifted with a sense of anticipation and achievement. She realized that the journey was almost over, but the lessons she had learned would remain with her far longer than any physical destination. The cowboy gestured toward the town. "You're almost there," he said. "How are you feeling?" Emily smiled, a mixture of relief and pride warming her expression. "I feel stronger," she admitted. "I've learned so much about myself, and I'm grateful for your guidance. I feel like I can face challenges with confidence now, even ones I didn't think I could handle." The cowboy nodded, his eyes reflecting approval and understanding. "Good," he said. "Remember this feeling. Confidence, courage, and calmness are things you carry with you. They're not given by anyone else. I just helped you discover what was already inside you." As they rode the final stretch toward the town, Emily felt a lightness in her heart. The path had been long and challenging, but each obstacle had taught her patience, awareness, and resilience. She realized that the journey had not just been physical, it had been a journey of growth, learning, and self-discovery. Every fear she had confronted, every moment of uncertainty she had endured had strengthened her, and with each step, she felt more capable of facing whatever life might bring her way. The cowboy guided the horse carefully into the town's outskirts, making sure Emily felt secure and confident as they navigated the final path. People were beginning their day, walking along the streets, opening shops, and greeting one another. The sight of everyday life was comforting to Emily, a reminder that the world continued beyond her fears and challenges. She realized that she had not only learned to face danger, but also to appreciate the beauty and rhythm of ordinary life. As they reached a small clearing near the town square, Emily dismounted and let her horse graze on a patch of grass. She took a deep breath, feeling a sense of closure and accomplishment. The journey had been long, and she had faced moments of fear, uncertainty, and challenge, but she had emerged stronger, wiser, and more aware of herself and the world around her. She turned to the cowboy, her voice filled with genuine gratitude. "Thank you," she said. "For everything. I couldn't have done this without your guidance." The cowboy smiled warmly, tipping his hat once more. "You did all the hard work yourself," he said. "I just helped you see what you were capable of. Remember that. Life will continue to test you, but you've proven today that you can face those tests with courage and awareness." Emily nodded, understanding the depth of his words. She realized that the journey had not ended with reaching the town. It had ended with discovering her own strength, resilience, and confidence. Emily walked her horse through the town, feeling a mixture of excitement and calm. People greeted her politely, some curious about the traveler arriving from the countryside. She felt a sense of belonging, knowing that her journey had brought her to a place where she could continue to grow and thrive. The cowboy walked beside her for a few steps before nodding and beginning to guide his own horse back toward the trail. Emily waved goodbye, feeling a deep sense of gratitude and respect. She knew she would carry the lessons she had learned with her for the rest of her life. As she continued into the town, Emily reflected on the past days. She thought about the river, the challenges of the trail, the moments of fear, and the moments of triumph. Each experience had been a teacher, showing her that courage was built step by step, that trust could lead to safety and growth, and that the world was full of beauty, opportunity, and support if one paid attention. She realized that the journey had transformed her, not just as a traveler, but as a person capable of facing life's challenges with resilience and mindfulness. Emily found a quiet spot in the town square to rest, letting her horse graze nearby. She watched the town waking up, the people moving with purpose, the sunlight warming the buildings and streets. She felt a deep sense of satisfaction and hope. The journey had been difficult, yes, but it had also been filled with learning, connection, and discovery. She understood now that challenges were not to be feared entirely. They were opportunities to grow, to learn, and to discover the strength that existed within. As the day progressed, Emily began to plan her next steps. She knew she would continue traveling, exploring, and learning, but she felt a new sense of confidence and awareness. She understood that she was capable of facing whatever challenges lay ahead, armed with the lessons she had learned and the courage she had discovered. And in her heart, she carried the quiet gratitude for the cowboy, whose guidance had helped her see what she was truly capable of. By evening, Emily had settled into a small inn on the edge of town. She watched the sunset from the window, the sky ablaze with colors, and thought about the journey she had undertaken. She realized that the experience had not only brought her safely to a destination, but had also transformed her, leaving her stronger, wiser, and more confident. She felt a sense of peace, knowing that she had faced fear, trusted guidance, and discovered resilience within herself. As night fell, Emily wrote in her journal, capturing the lessons, emotions, and reflections of the journey. She wrote about the river crossing, the narrow trails, the beauty of the countryside, and the quiet strength she had discovered. She reflected on trust, courage, patience, and mindfulness, knowing that these lessons would stay with her long after the journey had ended. She smiled, realizing that the journey had been about more than reaching a physical destination. It had been about discovering herself and the world in a deeper, more meaningful way. In the quiet of the night, Emily felt a deep sense of gratitude, peace, and hope. She had faced her fears, learned to trust, and discovered strength she hadn't known she possessed. The journey had ended, but the lessons would remain with her forever, guiding her through the challenges and opportunities that life would continue to bring. And as she drifted to sleep, Emily knew that she was ready for whatever lay ahead, confident in her abilities, aware of the world around her, and grateful for the journey that had brought her to this moment.